Hello YouTube, welcome to Monday on The Breakfast Club with Got That Funk. Thanks for joining me. Nathyn Brendan Masters has set the topic of discussion for this week, that being about goals. What goals have we set for ourselves in the past? Which ones have we achieved? Which ones have we yet to achieve? Which ones have we failed at and why? That kind of thing. And like everybody else, I'm the kind of person who did set goals as a boy, actually, for myself when I was growing up. I've mentioned this before on my own channel, but for me personally, I sort of woke up as an individual around about the age of 8 years old. And at that time, one of the first goals I ever set for myself was I wanted to be a father, and I wanted to make a point of being the best goddamn father I actually could be. To me, that was the most important goal I could have as a man. And when I was a kid, I used to write down a list of things I would never say to my own children when I grew up, because it was so important to me to be a good dad. I wanted to make sure that I didn't say any of that stupid shit that was said to me. And I think part of my catalyst as a boy for wanting to be a father and wanting to be a good dad was I sort of looked on my own parents as kind of like an anti-role model, and I thought, surely I could do it better than this. Which is how I felt at the time. And now that I'm grown up and a parent myself, I think it's an unkind thing to do, to disparage your parents who were probably trying their very best at the time to do good and to do right by you. But while I was living through my childhood, I have to say I thought it kind of sucked. And that being the case, it did sort of form my viewpoints on this kind of thing. Now, I had 2 children, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted either a boy and a girl, or a girl and boy, whichever way they came. And we happened to hit it lucky on the first 2 pregnancies. My daughter is the oldest, my son's the youngest. And a couple of years after my son was born, I went and got the snip to make sure that I couldn't have any more children, because I take the issue of overpopulation in the world quite seriously. And I think when it comes to birth control, those of us who live in a country where such things can be taken seriously and permanently dealt with, it's kind of our responsibility to do so, because there's plenty of people in the world who don't have that privilege. Anyway, so my first marriage failed after about 4.5 years, sorry. And I became a single parent. And I raised my kids up. When I got custody of my kids, they were 2 and 3 years old, respectively. And I am proud to say that now they're in their adult lives. My daughter's going to be 27 in a couple of months. My son will be 26 later this year. And I know every parent is proud of their kids. And in that sense, I'm not unusual. But I am overawed by what stunning individuals my kids have grown into. I think they're amazing human beings. I'd be proud to know them even if they weren't my kids. And the fact that they are my kids just makes me incredibly humble and grateful. And most of who they are as people is down to their own innate personalities, the choices that they make for themselves, and so on. But to whatever degree my influence on them has helped them become the people that they are, I'm immensely proud of that. And like every parent, I made plenty of mistakes along the way. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. There's no such thing as perfect kids. But like I say, the proof is in the pudding. And my kids are going to be a positive thing for the culture that they grow up into. They already are. And I'm really proud of that. So that's one thing. That was my biggest goal as a child, which I obviously achieved. To quote Chris Rock, it's not that much of an achievement. Even cockroaches have kids. Having said that, like I say, I took it pretty seriously, the whole parenthood trip. I'm in no rush to become a grandparent, don't get me wrong. Although, the older I get, the more sort of like, I'm like, hurry up. I don't want to be like 70 holding a 1-year-old. But my son says he never wants to have kids, and that's his prerogative. But my daughter's quite keen to have children. But she's just bought a house, and so for the next couple of years, I think they're going to be waiting before they start having any kids. But I very much look forward to doing the whole thing over again, and from a safe distance. I mean, the best part about grandkids is you can give them back. And my own grandfather was one of the most significant and important people in my life when I was growing up. And I look forward to being able to be the same for another little individual in the family at some point in the future. Other goals I set for myself when I was a kid, some more material goals I set for myself. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, I decided that I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. 35 tops. That was my goal. And I also wanted to be a radio DJ from a very young age. I think I was 10 years old when I decided I wanted to be a DJ, because I used to listen to KFRC, which was broadcast out of San Francisco, one of the biggest radio stations in America back in the 70s. And the DJs on KFRC were universally the coolest motherfuckers in the world. And I just thought they had the best job ever. I mean, being a DJ, you get paid to play music and talk. How can there be a better job than that? I started being a professional DJ actually at a quite young age. I started DJing at a roller disco back when I was 16 years old. By the time I was 18, I was the lead DJ at the disco. And by the time I was 20, I got my first break on radio. And I started being a radio DJ from the age of 20 till about the age of 28 or 29, I think. And that spanned California, Alaska, and the UK. I DJed a variety of different musical formats, and I had various different jobs besides being on the air. At one radio station, I was in charge of making all the commercials and so on. And my career in broadcasting would have continued had I not moved to the UK. But moving to the UK sort of sent my life in a 90-degree trajectory from where it was going before I moved to the UK. And I don't regret it, because I've got 2 beautiful kids and a whole life here in Britain, which I can't imagine trading in for something else. What else? When I was a kid, my favorite car was a Corvette, and I had resolved that I was going to own a Corvette when I grew up. And as it happened, I didn't have to wait very long. By the time I was 19, I managed to get myself into a situation where I could buy my first Corvette. Actually, it turned out to be my only Corvette. The Corvette I bought looks something like this. Unfortunately, this picture and the other 2 pictures that follow are not my car, but this car is virtually identical to mine, except for the wheels. I had Krager Super Sport chrome spoke wheels on my car. But basically, this is exactly the same design and same year that my Corvette was. I absolutely loved having a Corvette, but unfortunately I couldn't afford to keep it. The insurance payments were more every month than my rent was. And so after about 6 months, I just decided that keeping the car was untenable, and I had to get rid of it. So I bought it when I was 19, sold it when I was 19, and the only other sports car I ever had after that was an MGB GT, which is a lot of fun, but it's not a Corvette. Anyway, so yeah, that was one of my material goals that I set for myself. Now, what about this millionaire bullshit? Well, when I moved to the UK, we were pretty poor for a while, and changing my country of residence had a few knock-on effects. Among those being that my priorities changed as regards my attitudes towards wealth. I realized very quickly after moving to the UK that you don't necessarily need to be chasing wealth in order to be happy. And that's really, really important. I think the money gives us options in life, and to that degree money is useful. But I don't really think that the over-reliance on or the constant pursuit of wealth is necessarily healthy for individuals. I don't necessarily think it helps you bring you happiness. What it can bring you is choices, and those choices might bring you happiness, fair enough. But at the end of the day, you should hopefully be able to achieve happiness with or without material prosperity. Which brings me to my overall point when it comes to goals. A few weeks ago on the Breakfast Club, I mentioned that I had an epiphany when I was about 10 or 11 years old, where I realized that my happiness was up to me, that to a fairly large degree, happiness is a choice that you can make. And so my ultimate goal in life is, and has always been, to be happy. That goal supersedes all other goals. And because I have that goal as my ultimate goal, when I fail or come up short from reaching other aspirations that I might set for myself, as long as I'm still happy, I don't really feel that I've failed. I just feel that I haven't quite met this aspiration in the way or in the time that I might have wanted to. One of the goals I set for myself when I was young, which I have failed at, is to have a enduring, healthy, romantic relationship. My first marriage lasted for a little over 4 years. My second marriage, although we were together for almost 10 years, we were only married for the last 3.5 years of those. And yeah, I kind of thought when I was a kid that romance would be one of the easier goals to achieve, and it turns out in my case not to be so. I think it's just me. I think I kind of suck at relationships, and that's something that causes me to take a long, hard look at myself, because I am the only common denominator in all my failed relationships. So it's important to be honest about that and to look at oneself and go, how come you keep getting this wrong? Around about 2015, I decided to take the year off of even thinking about affection and relationships and all that kind of stuff, and just do some introspection. And I was just coming to a place at the end of 2015 where I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to be okay on my own. If I make the rest of my life a solo project, that's going to be okay. It won't necessarily impede on my overall level of happiness. And then in the summer of 2016, I met the most incredible woman currently alive, as far as I'm concerned. She's fucking fantastic. And I fell head over heels in love with her. Unfortunately, we were ships that passed in the night for a variety of reasons. And we only managed to see each other for about 3 months, but it was the best 3 months I've spent for many, many years. And it made me acutely aware that although I can be content up to a point and happy up to a point on my own, unless I've got someone to share my experiences with who loves me and who I can love back, I'm never really going to feel fulfilled in my happiness. Satisfied maybe, but not really fulfilled. So that's a goal that I failed at. It's a goal that I still have and hope to achieve, but I'm certainly not going to rush it, because I think that's where you make the mistakes. I'm remaining open to it, but I'm not going out and trying to bring it into my life, as it were. Anyway, so that's where I'm at, and I want to thank you guys for listening to this video. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them downstairs in the comment section. SisterDanger will be announcing a new topic for discussion very soon, and Nathyn Brendan Masters will do his wrap-up video. I'm not sure which is going to come first out of those two videos tomorrow. But that's what you've got coming up for the Breakfast Club. SisterDanger with a new topic, Nathyn wrapping up this topic, and I'll see you again next Monday. Until next time, may all your ups and downs be ups. Thanks for watching.